Welcome to this Daisy's acrylic painting tutorial, and I'll talk a little bit about how to correct mistakes in acrylics also. For a full list of the materials I'm going to be using in this tutorial and a link for the photograph, please see the description below. I'm using a handful of synthetic brushes and I've made a Stay Wet palette. If you'd like to know a little bit more about Stay Wet palettes, I will have a link in the description below of a tutorial that I published all about the materials that I use. But basically the palette stops the acrylic paints from drying out. I'm using acrylic paper that's been primed. I'm using a flat 1.5 inch brush. I'm just painting on some magenta with a little bit of white, and I've actually put some washi tape around the edge of the paper, so I'll have a nice white border at the end, which is quite nice for presenting your work if you don't want to rush out and have it framed, or maybe you might. I'm using a little bit of cadmium yellow here and blending it with the magenta. This is really just an abstract background. I'm heading for pastel shapes. So imagine them as kind of blurry flowers or wildflowers in the background with these daisies. So I'm not copying the photograph, as you can see. I'm interpreting it. I love painting daisies. They're a really nice, easy flower to do. But I also love abstraction or semi-abstract paintings. They really move me. I'm using some cobalt blue now. It's a darker sort of mid-tone blue on its own actually, and blending it with my fingertips or a damp clean brush into the sort of main area where I'm going to put the main daisy. So it really stands out, the light against dark. I'm using a little bit of the cobalt blue here, mixed with a little bit of the magenta. This is a little bit of cerulean. I'm mixing it with a little bit of white. So you can see it's almost psychedelic background here. I'm adding a little bit of the yellow and the blue together as well to create a sort of mid-tone green. I haven't speeded this up. This is as fast as I paint. Acrylics dry very quickly, so that's one of the reasons why I'm painting quite fast. If you find it's drying too quickly, you could spray it with a fine mist bottle, use a retarder, or just use more paint. Really load your paint brush. So I'm continuing on blending these colours, trying to get the right feel for this background and also having lots of fun. So I've dried my painting and I'm actually just, no drawing involved here, guys. You'll be pleased to know I'm just sort of painting a kind of an ellipse or oval shape here with my flat 1 or 3/4 inch brush actually, just with some yellow wet on dry, getting that plenty of paint on there. I'm using the same brush now just to paint in the petals using white paint. The yellow is still slightly wet, so I might pick up a little bit of yellow, and that's absolutely fine. It'll warm up my white. I am trying to copy the actual main flower in the photograph, or it may not look like it, but I'm doing my best. Try to work in a clockwise fashion. So think of it as the hands of the clock and go round. So I'm going straight up here, but gradually go round. It's quite tricky to do. Sometimes you can turn your paper or your painting as well, might make it easier. But it's quite thinner at the sort of the middle, and then it comes out a bit wider, the petals. The ones in the foreground are slightly shorter because they're foreshortened, so it gives the illusion that they are shorter, but they are obviously in reality the same length. So as you can see, I've used a little bit of artistic license. I am sort of trying to paint from the photograph, but some of them are very blurry behind, so I brought them forward a little bit, just to create a little bit more interest, and then just painting in the centres as well with the yellow. I've just added a tiny touch of pink to my yellow here, and I'm just warming up, so it's kind of wet into wet here with my flat 3/4 inch brush, warming up the centres as they are in the photograph. So I promised you how to correct mistakes. One of the ways of correcting mistakes is, while your paint's still semi-wet, is get lots and lots of water on there and wash it off. It's got most of it off. Some of the white paint dried, but it's one way of getting it off. So if you know it's a mistake, try and get it off before it dries. It's a lot more difficult. And it shouldn't disturb the paint underneath, because acrylic paints are permanent once dry. So I'm actually painting in a different daisy, and I am sort of using a bit of artistic license here. I just felt it had a better balance. Just love daisies. They're so pretty that they just make me smile. So I'm just putting in the white and the yellow in the centre there. I'm getting a little bit of light blue here. I was a bit distracted by that pink top left hand corner. So another way of getting rid of mistakes is to paint over the top. Once that paint is dry, you can just paint over the top. Acrylics are opaque, so you won't see the underpainting. I'm just mixed up a little bit more of an orange in there. I'm just building up some warmth in the centre of the daisies. Keep your painting nice and loose. The painting is dried now, and I am painting some white on top of the white, but a little bit got blue on there and a little bit of yellow on there, so it keeps it nice and fresh. I'm just painting it on some of the petals, not all of them, just to freshen them up a little. I've mixed up a little bit of the blue and pink, and I'm painting in some shadow colours on the petals with my flat 1/2 inch brush, and just blending here and there with my fingertips as well. So it's really soft shadow. Don't make it too dark, and it's fun to do, and it really starts to bring the daisies to life. Just painting some darks now around the bottom side of the centre. It'll make it look a little bit more 3D, and I've used a little bit of the cobalt blue and a touch of the pink there with a tiny touch of green, just to neutralise it a bit so it's not too bright. Again, I'm sort of smudging with my fingertips. If you don't like doing that, remember you can use a smaller damp brush or even a Q-tip or something like that, a cotton bud. But it's quite nice to do, and it just kind of lifts this centre of the daisies. So I've painted lots of my shadows in. I'm just going to start painting some of the green, and I'm keeping it really simple. It is really simple in the photograph. In fact, I'm going to make it less simple. I'm going to put some more leaves and stems in, but I'm just mixing up the yellow with a little bit of a turquoise. You could use cerulean, and I'm just painting in some leaves and stems. I added a bit of white as well to really lift it and paint some leaves with my flat 1/2 inch brush, wet on dry. I'm using a greeting card now, and I'm kind of curving it a little bit, and as you can see, I'm dipping it in to the paint and then printing. And it's just take your time with this. This is a little bit of a darker green. You can use light green. You can really mix it up. But it's a really nice way of painting stems, especially if you have a shaky hand or something, or you're a bit worried. But I like to have a lot of fun with it. And you can see there, I'm just printing away, creating lots of texture, lots of marks. So I wasn't quite sure about some of those marks. So again, it's not quite dried, and I wet this line here with some cleanish water and lifted it off with a paper towel. Look, hey presto, it's gone. I'm building up some darks here in the centre of the daisy using pink, ultramarine and a bit of green or yellow. It's just using the primary colours really to make almost like a brown, mixing them together. It's really useful and creative to mix just a simple palette like this. It creates lots of colour harmony as well. So I'm going to paint a little bit of white paint now. I'm using a round brush. It's about a size 6, but a small round brush, and just stippling the white paint on quite creamy to create some highlights at the sort of top part of the centres here. And it really sort of starts to make these daisies look a little bit realistic in an impressionistic style. So I've sort of built up a little bit more detail in the centre there using some orange, and now I'm just putting on some lighter stems and leaves. I just added some white to the green there just to really lift it and start to finish off. In acrylics we work dark to light, so the lights come on last. So I've watered down my acrylic white here to spatter and to create some yummy textures. I'm removing the washi tape to reveal a really nice white border. It's a great way, as I said at the beginning of the tutorial, to present your work, especially if you have it in a portfolio. And here is the finished painting. The white border really sets it off nicely. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and sort of building up on this abstract, colourful pastel shades background, and then painting the daisies without any drawing, just starting with the centres and then building up the petals, but also how to correct mistakes by either wetting the sort of semi-wet paint and lifting off with a paper towel, or painting over the top. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please put them in the comments section below, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. And if you like this tutorial and you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel where you will get updates of my latest tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Happy painting. Bye for now.